Ever wonder why some Silverados are still hauling loads at 250,000 miles while others are sitting in junkyards at 120,000? It's not luck. Those high-mileage workhorses you see on construction sites with faded paint but perfect mechanical performance didn't get there by accident. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Even the most reliable Silverado won't survive past 150,000 miles without the right care. I've been wrenching on Chevy trucks for over 18 years, and I've seen pristine Silverados with seized engines at 110,000 miles. Why? Because the owner skipped one critical maintenance step. In this video, I'm sharing the 5 most essential maintenance habits that separate 300,000-mile Silverados from scrapyard statistics. You don't need expensive tools or dealership prices, just the right maintenance at the right time. So stick around because these expert tips will save you thousands in engine, transmission, and drivetrain repairs. Let's get into it. Number 1, change your oil. Every 5,000 miles with the right specification, all right. Here's where some of you will push back, but I don't care because it's the truth. GM's oil life monitoring system might tell you that you can go 7,500 or even 10,000 miles between changes. I'm telling you that's pushing it way too far, especially on the 5.3-liter and 6.2-liter V8 engines that power most modern Silverados. I've torn down too many Chevy small blocks with sludge buildup at 95,000 miles. You know what they all had in common? Owners who religiously followed that 7,500-mile interval, trusting the oil life monitor without question. Here's what makes Silverado engines different. The modern 5.3-liter Ecotec 3 and 6.2-liter engines use active fuel management, also called cylinder deactivation. When you're cruising on the highway, the engine shuts down 4 cylinders to save fuel. Sounds great for gas mileage, but it creates a serious problem. Those deactivated cylinders still get oil splash, but they're not burning fuel to generate heat. That means moisture accumulates in the oil faster than conventional engines. Water contamination breaks down oil additives and creates acidic conditions that eat away at bearings and cylinder walls. Add in direct injection on 2014 and newer models, and you've got an engine that works oil harder than previous generations. Direct injection runs higher cylinder pressures and temperatures. That accelerates oil breakdown, especially if you do a lot of short trips where the engine never reaches full operating temperature. Here's my rule. Change your oil every 5,000 miles, period. Use full synthetic oil that meets GM's Dexos 1 Gen 2 specification. For the 5.3-liter and 6.2-liter engines, that's 0W20 on 2020 and newer models, or 5W30 on older versions. Don't cheap out and use conventional oil thinking you'll save money. The Dexos 1 certification isn't just marketing. It requires specific detergent packages that prevent sludge formation in engines with AFM and direct injection. And yes, always change the oil filter too. I've watched people try to reuse filters to save $10. That dirty filter sends contaminated oil right back through your engine, completely defeating the purpose of fresh oil. A DIY oil change costs about $55 with quality synthetic. Compare that to a new engine, which runs $8,000 to $12,000 when sludge destroys your bearings. Your Silverado's V8 needs clean oil more frequently than GM admits. The oil life monitor is programmed for acceptable wear over the warranty period. I'm teaching you how to get to 300,000 miles, not just past the 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Trust me on this one. Number 2, service your 4-wheel drive system every 30,000 miles. Let's talk about the most neglected system on every Silverado, your 4-wheel drive. Most owners never service it once. They assume that because it's not used constantly, it doesn't need maintenance. That neglect creates dangerous driving conditions and catastrophic component failures that cost thousands to repair. Your Silverado's 4-wheel drive system includes the front differential, transfer case, and on some models, a rear differential. Each contains fluid that lubricates gears under extreme pressure and heat. That fluid doesn't last forever, despite what the lifetime fill marketing might suggest. I've replaced front differentials on Silverados with only 85,000 miles because owners believe that lifetime fluid nonsense. The gears were worn so badly they sounded like a cement mixer. Here's what happens to 4-wheel drive fluid over time. It accumulates metal particles from normal gear wear. Those particles act like grinding compound, accelerating wear on every component they touch. The fluid also breaks down from heat cycling. When you engage 4-wheel drive, those components heat up significantly. When you park, they cool down. That constant expansion and contraction creates condensation inside the housing. Water contamination turns your gear oil into a corrosive sludge that eats bearings and seals. Here's the service schedule. Front differential fluid every 30,000 miles. Transfer case fluid every 30,000 miles. Rear differential fluid every 30,000 miles if you tow regularly, or 50,000 miles for normal use. Use only fluids that meet GM specifications. For most Silverados, that's 75 W90 synthetic gear oil for the differentials and AutoTrack 2 fluid for the transfer case. Generic gear oil might save you $15, but it doesn't have the friction modifiers that GM's limited slip differentials require. Pay special attention to the front axle actuator on electronically controlled four-wheel drive systems. This electric motor engages the front axle when you select four-wheel drive. The seals on these actuators fail around 100,000 miles, allowing water into the actuator motor. A failed actuator means your four-wheel drive won't engage when you need it most. Inspect it annually and replace it at the first sign of corrosion. A $200 actuator prevents getting stuck in a snowstorm. Here's a Silverado-specific tip most people miss. Exercise your four-wheel drive system monthly, even in summer. Drive a few miles in 4-high on a dirt road or empty parking lot. This circulates fluid, prevents seal drying, and keeps the engagement mechanism from seizing. Silverados that sit in two-wheel drive year-round develop seized actuators and stuck transfer cases. Four-wheel drive service costs about $150 at most shops, maybe $80 if you do it yourself. A replacement front differential runs $1,500 to $2,500. A transfer case replacement costs $2,000 to $3,500. I already know which option makes sense. Number 3. Address your truck bed and frame before rust. Takes hold. Your Silverado's bed and frame are built tough, but they're not invincible. Rust destroys structural components that protect you in a crash and eventually causes frame failure. If you live anywhere they salt roads in winter or near coastal areas, corrosion is actively attacking your truck right now. Salt accelerates rust formation on the bed floor, frame rails, and suspension mounts. Once rust starts, it spreads fast. I've seen Silverado frames with holes rusted through at only 120,000 miles because owners ignored what they couldn't see. A rusted frame can actually snap during heavy towing or off-road use. That's not just expensive, it's deadly. Rust also destroys bed integrity. Corroded bed floors let cargo punch through. Rusted bedsides develop holes that leak water into electrical components stored in the bed. Here's your rust prevention plan. Inspect your frame and bed twice annually. Get under your truck and look at the frame rails, cross members, and suspension mounts. Surface rust is treatable with wire brushing and paint. Structural rust with flaking or holes requires professional repair or replacement before it becomes dangerous. Check the bed floor, especially where the bed meets the cab and around the wheel wells. These areas trap moisture and salt. Wash your undercarriage weekly during winter months. Most car washes offer undercarriage spray for $3 to $5. This removes salt before it can cause damage. After washing, drive a few miles to let everything dry. Trapped moisture accelerates rust in enclosed frame sections. Apply a rust prevention coating annually before winter. Fluid film or wool wax are lanolin-based products that displace moisture and block salt. Professional application costs $100 to $150. DIY kits run about $50 and take 2 hours to apply. Here's a Silverado-specific weak point. The rear shock mounts on 2014 to 2018 models rust prematurely. The factory coating isn't sufficient for salt exposure. Check these mounts every fall. If you see rust forming, wire brush it and apply rust converter followed by primer and paint. A failed shock mount can cause the shock to tear through the frame. That repair costs over $2,000. For your bed, consider a spray-in bed liner. Line X or Rhino liner coating protects against rust from the inside. It costs $400 to $600 but adds years to your bed's life. If you already have surface rust, treat it first with rust converter, then apply the liner. Drop-in bed liners actually trap moisture and accelerate rust. Remove them and inspect underneath. Protecting your frame and bed costs under $200 annually. Frame replacement runs $4,000 to $8,000, and most insurance won't cover rust damage. A rust-free Silverado stays safe and holds its value. When you go to sell, buyers will crawl underneath. They'll see your maintenance, and that rust-free frame adds $2,000 to $3,000 to your resale price. Number 4, replace spark plugs at 60,000 miles and inspect your ignition system. GM might tell you that spark plugs last 100,000 miles on modern Silverados. I'm telling you that's optimistic marketing, not real-world experience. 60,000 miles maximum, and here's exactly why. The 5.3-liter and 6.2-liter V8 engines run relatively high compression ratios for modern truck engines. The 5.3-liter runs 11.0 to 1 compression. The 6.2-liter pushes 11.5 to 1. Higher compression means more heat at the spark plug tip. More heat means faster electrode wear, even with iridium plugs. Add in active fuel management, and you've got another problem. When cylinders deactivate, they're not firing, but they're still getting oil vapor from the crankcase ventilation system. That oil vapor can foul spark plugs in deactivated cylinders. I've pulled spark plugs from 5.3-liter engines at 80,000 miles that looked like they'd been through a coal mine. Those engines were misfiring, idling rough, and getting 4 miles per gallon worse fuel economy than they should. New plugs fixed everything immediately. Here's your spark plug service schedule. Replace plugs every 60,000 miles using AC Delco Professional Iridium plugs that meet GM specifications. For most 5.3-liter engines, that's AC Delco 41110. For 6.2-liter engines, it's AC Delco 41162. Don't cheap out with copper plugs that need replacement every 30,000 miles. Don't upgrade to exotic platinum plugs that cost 3 times more without measurable benefit. When replacing spark plugs, inspect your ignition coils simultaneously. Silverados use coil-on-plug ignition, meaning each cylinder has its own coil mounted directly on the spark plug. These coils fail around 100,000 to 120,000 miles. Look for cracks in the coil boot, carbon tracking on the coil body, or oil contamination. If you see any damage, replace that coil. A failed coil causes misfires that can damage your catalytic converter. A new coil costs $45. A catalytic converter replacement runs $1,200 to $1,800. Here's a critical Silverado-specific tip. Use dielectric grease on the spark plug boot before installing the coil. The 5.3-liter and 6.2-liter engines run hot, and that heat degrades the rubber boots over time. A thin coat of dielectric grease prevents the boot from bonding to the ceramic plug insulator. Without it, you'll tear the boot trying to remove the coil for your next plug change. A torn boot means buying a new coil, and use anti-seize compound on the spark plug threads. GM uses aluminum cylinder heads that can seize spark plugs, making removal nearly impossible after 70,000 miles. I've drilled out seized plugs that required removing the cylinder head to repair the threads. That nightmare costs over $2,000. A thin layer of anti-seize prevents it completely. New spark plugs and preventive coil inspection cost about $120 in parts if you DIY, maybe $250 at a shop. Neglected plugs reduce your fuel economy today and cause expensive catalytic converter damage tomorrow. Fresh plugs keep your Silverado running smooth and efficient. Worn plugs create misfires that send unburned fuel into your exhaust, melting your catalytic converter from the inside out. Number 5. Maintain a detailed service log and inspect critical components. This might sound basic, but it's the habit that separates 300,000-mile trucks from 150,000-mile failures. Every time you perform maintenance, write it down. Record the date, mileage, and what you did. Save every receipt in a notebook or digital folder. A service log helps you spot patterns when problems develop. You'll notice if you're adding coolant more frequently, suggesting a leak. You'll catch transmission issues early when you track fluid color and smell at every oil change. Mechanics take you seriously when you show detailed records. When you walk into a shop with a log showing every oil change, fluid service, and repair, they know you maintain your truck properly. They'll be more honest about repairs because they respect owners who care. They'll also be less likely to recommend unnecessary services because your log proves you're informed. But here's the real value. A Silverado with complete service history sells for $1,500 to $3,000 more than identical trucks without records. Buyers know that maintained trucks last. They'll pay premium prices when you can prove maintenance. Most importantly, a log keeps you accountable. You won't forget when you last changed transmission fluid if you write it down. GEM's maintenance reminder system resets and doesn't track everything. Your personal log creates a permanent record. Start your log with these critical inspection points. Check your transmission fluid color, every oil change. It should be bright red and smell sweet. Dark brown fluid or burning smell means immediate service before damage occurs. Inspect your brake lines and fuel lines twice annually. These steel lines rust through on trucks that see winter salt. A brake line failure causes accidents. A fuel line leak causes fires. Look for rust, wet spots, or physical damage. Check your suspension components every fall. Ball joints, tie rod ends, and control arm bushings wear out faster on trucks that tow or haul heavy loads. A failed ball joint causes wheel separation. That's catastrophic at highway speed. Most ball joints show warning signs before failure. Look for torn boots, excessive play when you rock the wheel, or clunking noises over bumps. A ball joint costs $60. The accident caused by a separated wheel is priceless. Inspect your serpentine belt every oil change. This single belt drives your alternator, water pump, power steering pump, and air conditioning compressor. Belt failure at highway speed means immediate overheating and dead electrical system. You'll be stranded. Look for cracks, fraying, or glazing on the belt surface. Most serpentine belts need replacement at 80,000 to 100,000 miles. A new belt costs $35 and takes 15 minutes to install. Getting towed and dealing with overheating damage costs over $500. Here's the Silverado specific inspection nobody does. Check your exhaust manifold bolts annually on 5.3-liter and 6.2-liter engines. These engines are notorious for broken manifold bolts that cause exhaust leaks. The bolts are too small for the application and break from heat cycling. Listen for ticking noises from the engine bay, especially on cold starts. That's usually a broken manifold bolt. Catch it early, and repair costs $200. Ignore it, and the leak damages oxygen sensors and catalytic converters, costing over $2,000 to fix. A $3 notebook protects your Silverado better than any other tool. Start today, even if your truck has 100,000 miles already. Record everything from this point forward. Include parts used, mileage, cost, and any observations about how the truck is running. This information becomes invaluable when diagnosing problems. It proves maintenance history when you sell. Most importantly, it keeps you honest about maintenance intervals. Hitting 300,000 miles in your Silverado isn't about luck or getting a perfect truck from the factory. It's about following these 5 maintenance habits that prevent the failures most owners wrongly accept as inevitable. These 5 habits prevent 95% of the problems that destroy Silverados before 200,000 miles. The other 5% is random component failures that no maintenance can prevent, but those are rare exceptions. Your Silverado was built to last. Chevy engineers designed every component of these trucks to reach high mileage with proper care. The question isn't whether your Silverado can reach 300,000 miles. The question is whether you'll follow the habits that allow it to happen. If this video is saving you from a $10,000 engine replacement, smash that like button right now and subscribe for more tips that keep your truck running forever. Which of these 5 habits are you implementing first? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you've got a high-mileage Silverado, tell us your secret in the comments. Check the description for a free downloadable maintenance checklist and timestamps to jump to the section you need most. Now, get out there and give your truck the care it deserves. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.